Hello, and welcome to the initial presentation by the Roane County Office of Emergency Services and Homeland Security for Tennessee's Severe Weather Awareness Week. It begins today, Sunday, the 20th. It's presented through the cooperation of the Roane County OES and Homeland Security, the National Weather Service, and the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency. There will be a whole week of presentations with a separate emphasis every day during this week of severe weather awareness in Tennessee. The first subject chosen by the National Weather Service is the importance of the Skywarn Spotter. That may be something that you've never heard of or don't know much about. Well, we'll take care of that today. To understand the importance of the Skywarn Spotter, we have to do several things. We've got to find out what is Skywarn and what is a Skywarn Spotter. Then we can talk about why they are important and move on to becoming informed about how can one become a spotter and who can become a spotter. So first, let's talk a little bit about what Skywarn is. Skywarn is a nationwide network of volunteer storm spotters trained by the National Weather Service to report significant weather. Virtually anyone with an interest in weather is welcome to participate. Skywarn is a registered trademark of the National Weather Service, and it's owned and governed by the National Weather Service rules and regulations. Well, what is it that makes Skywarn important? The National Weather Service's mission is to protect lives and property, with safety being the top priority. When weather conditions are favorable for severe thunderstorms or tornadoes or other dangerous weather to develop, a severe thunderstorm or tornado or other appropriate watch is issued. The National Weather Service and/or the local emergency management authorities may activate the Skywarn network whenever there's a threat of severe weather or when the NWS issues a severe weather watch or warning. A little bit more about the Skywarn program. The effects of severe weather are, of course, as all of us know, felt every year by many Americans. To obtain critical weather information, NOAA's National Weather Service, which is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce, established the Skywarn program a number of years ago with partner organizations. Skywarn is a volunteer program with nearly 300,000 trained severe weather spotters. Amateur radio operators and other weather observers generally operating through local Skywarn organizations are ideally equipped to contribute to the Skywarn program. However, be aware that the general public can also play an integral part of the program. These volunteers are trained by NWS personnel to recognize features associated with rapidly developing, mature, and dissipating conditions which can cause hazardous weather. Skywarn spotters also provide reports of heavy snow, heavy rain, and flooding. So let's talk then about who or what is a Skywarn spotter. Skywarn volunteers are people who have an interest in weather and/or are public service oriented. Our spotters are all ages, beginning probably as young as 14 and range well into retirement age. We have farmers, pilots, engineers, homemakers, lawyers, television cameramen, teachers, students, firemen, and many more other professions involved. While most Skywarn volunteers are members of the general public, there is a core group that are licensed amateur radio operators. We'll take a little bit closer look at the Skywarn spotters. During hazardous weather, such as severe thunderstorms, floods, tornadoes, snow, and ice storms, Skywarn volunteers report what is happening at their location. They're asked to report whenever certain criteria are met, such as when an inch of rain has fallen or 4 inches of snow is on the ground, a thunderstorm is producing hail, or trees have been blown down. The spotters are trained by one of the 122 local National Weather Service forecast offices on how to spot severe thunderstorms. The Weather Forecast Office, or WFO, that serves our area of Tennessee is located in Morristown, Tennessee. It's often abbreviated as MRX, the letters MRX. Anyway, the spotters are trained by one of those services to spot severe thunderstorms, tornado, hail, flooding. In some parts of the country, spotters also report snowfall and ice accumulation. Here in East Tennessee would be one of those parts of the country. So by now you got a little bit better grasp on the Skywarn and spotters, as they say on TV, but wait, there's more. Once they're trained, active Skywarn spotters are very valuable because of something that all the high-tech goodies the Weather Service has cannot provide them. That valuable item is called ground truth. And ground truth is the most valuable ingredient when warning the public about weather that threatens life or property. Ground truth is a term used in meteorology, assisting in the analysis of a range of other remote sensing techniques, radar being only one of them, in which data are gathered at a distance. Ground truth refers to information that is collected on location. In remote sensing, this is especially important in order to relate image data to real features and materials that are actually on the ground, that can be observed there on the ground. The collection of ground truth data enables collaboration and calibration of remote sensing data and aids with the interpretation and analysis of what is being sensed. That last phrase is probably the most important to the forecasters and warning officers at each National Weather Service office. They need to have that help of ground truth in the interpretation and analysis of what's being sensed. So let's take a look at an example of ground truth. Let's look at the National Weather Service radar. We've got a graphic representation of a radar with its covering protective dome here, and you'll note that there are radar waves going out at different angles. That's the way radar waves work. They go out in a straight line, and the scans from the radar are at differing levels above the ground. The key is that they are above the ground. Remember also that radar images only look at rays that are sent out line of sight. In other words, straight lines. So radar signals go out in these straight lines at various angles above the surface. Due to the curvature of the Earth, the further away from the actual radar antenna it sees, the higher over the ground it sees. It can't look lower. In other words, radar beams going straight out cannot follow the curvature of the Earth. A radar may, for instance, in this cloud that we have an example of in the upper left of your picture, they may see rotation in a storm at some elevation above the surface, but they can't see what's at the surface. And touching the surface is very important. For instance, touching the surface is what makes the difference between a tornado and a funnel cloud. That's an extremely important thing for them to know. That's why ground truth, which can only come from someone directly observing it, is so vital to the forecasters and warning officers at the National Weather Service. Okay, so we've established the importance of Skywarn. We've given a real good indication as to why it is that Skywarn spotters are important. So let's think about who can become a Skywarn spotter. Anybody that has the interest in learning some basics about weather and how to report it accurately to the National Weather Service can be a Skywarn spotter. They're always going to need reports at the National Weather Service of what the ground truth is. There are no real age requirements, but one would have to be old enough to grasp the basic content of the training, the science involved, and the use of the various methods to notify the Weather Service of their observation. Now, one thing let's be clear about. Skywarn spotters are not storm chasers, period. They want no part of storm chasers. The main emphasis is on spotter safety. If you want to go chase storms, go elsewhere. The Skywarn Spotter program is not for you. If you are interested in becoming a Skywarn Spotter, what can you do? The National Weather Service normally provides in-person classes, but the way things are currently, they cannot do that. But there are two ways that you can get the education free and submit it to them online. Once you pass the required test, you'll be sent your Skywarn Spotter certificate and a card by way of email. One source of gaining the Skywarn education and qualifications is found on this METED site, www.meted.ucar.edu. If you follow the link that's here, you will be taken to a page that has the Skywarn course on it. Be aware that if you take this METED course, there are two segments to it. The first is the role of the Skywarn Spotter. It has its own learning session and exam. And then the second is Skywarn Spotter Convective Basics. That's learning weather science basics, and it has its own educational content and exam. You must take and pass both. I highly recommend that. I've taken both of these classes. They are really, really excellent. Also, just recently, the Morristown office of the National Weather Service has developed a site for virtual training on their own. It's at this website that I've noted here, www.weather.gov/mrx/Skywarn_classes. And remember, you can always pause these videos if you want to write that down or get that information more correct. Make sure you have it right. And as with the classes from METED, if you take the online class from the National Weather Service in Morristown, there is an exam that you have to pass. Once you pass it, then you will be issued your Skywarn Spotter certificate and card by way of email. Well, that is the end of that. We want to thank you for your attention in viewing the video. We hope it's been helpful to you. Your Roane County Office of Emergency Services and Homeland Security has presented it to enhance public awareness, education, and safety. Remember, this is a part of Severe Weather Awareness Week in Tennessee. We'll be having a presentation for each day of the week through this coming Saturday. Each day will offer a different subject to improve public awareness and safety. We hope that you will join us. Thanks and have a great day.